Week 3 on this Morpheus Metallic VL Calais. Making quite good progress. All the purple's done except for a couple of the trims that go across the front. We've got the Calais front and just that little corner piece that goes above the headlights. And we're going to get stuck into all these body molds here. A couple of them have got a few small cracks on them. We're going to have to sand them all back, give them a good prime up. If I can get all these parts in primer today, I'll be happy. And this is some of those parts that we need to paint in the Morpheus. So just hit that affected clear. A few little repairs here and there. And we've got this part here too. This is the Calais front. All these lower molds as well. And not sure 100% what we're going to do with these lower ones. They're really not in good nick at all. It's like they've had some really bad paint sprayed all over them. So this is the first video I'm making with my new GoPro. Let me know if you think the video quality is any better. I hope it is, because I've just spent about $700 on it. So it's got a better resolution than the other one. And I've actually also figured out a few little tricks with my video editor from another great channel called Movie Studio Zen. Been very helpful, the guy on there. Happily answers questions. And we've got these bumper bars up here too, front and rear bumpers. This front one there's got a bit of a split in it, but we'll sort that out with a bit of fiberglassing. That bonnet, that's amazing, love it. It's still all going to get polished. Whole thing needs to be polished. Just get that gloss back up a little bit more. Sometimes a base coat can just suck a little bit of life out of it, out of the clear coat. Sort of, might be a little bit hard to see on the camera, but it's a little bit of just suck back. I mean, we haven't got any like repair sink back and big 80 grit scratches that I missed, because when I did all my repairs though, these days I like to finish them off with 180 grit, and doing that, giving it a good prime, making sure that primer's been left for at least a week before you go and paint over it. You should eliminate most of those shrink back marks. Pretty awesome colour, it's really growing on me. Originally I thought it was cool, but the more I see of it, the more I like it. And all of those bumpers and that are going a nice bright fine silver. So it's going to be the two-tone. I'm pretty happy with all the black around the frames too. Come up looking awesome. Can't wait to see this thing back together. We might see, get these parts primed up today. And we might even see if we can start bolting a couple of these panels on, get those doors sitting back on, because using up a fair bit of our workshop space. All these panels all over the joint. And then once that's done, we get most of it fitted up for him, and then he can organise this engine to go back in. Even that engine bay looks pretty nice, I reckon. So again, for this video I'll be putting a bit of music on in the background. Sit back, relax, and I'll continue to take you guys through the rest of the job. Okay, so this is what we got done on the VL yesterday. We got most of the panels back on. The front's just sitting there. We haven't actually aligned it up. As you can see, we've got big gaps here and sort of sitting a little bit funny, but main reason for putting these parts on was we were losing too much of our workshop, had no stands left or anything. And also it enables us to polish it. So got most of those parts all primed up. I'll give you a look at them in a minute. Some people ask the question of, oh, how can you paint all your panels off the car but still get a colour match? Answer to that is, as long as you paint that panel exactly the same as you paint that panel, and that panel exactly the same as you paint that panel, you should not get any colour difference, especially on these kind of colours. I mean, if it was a candy, well then yes, I would paint the gaps and then bolt the car up and paint the car all as one, but we've got a good colour match there. This panel here is sort of really not quite sitting right, so yeah, it's actually sitting on a little bit of a different angle. In some lights it looks a touch different, but that's partly just the angle it's sitting on. I got my colour matching light out yesterday and we've got good colour match. Still a fair bit to go on it. I'm going to start polishing this up, this Arvo. I'm going to get all this stuff in primer first. So I've got all these body moulds, all the door moulds. There's been a few repairs like splits and stuff. We just used fiberglass, got it from the inside and outside. They're hard to find. This bumper bar here, I ended up taking all of that paint off because it was acrylic paint and it's prone to want to fry up on you, and there was a big split through here which I sorted out with some fiberglass and reinforced it from the inside. When I do that kind of stuff, I grab my little grinder and sort of V it right out, give it something to stick to. And we've also got this rear bar was my own that I had off my VL. The one off his was actually in much worse condition. It had scratches and chips and didn't really sit very nice around those edges. And we've got all these parts here, just loads and loads of them. Took hours to prep up. More splits in some of these, and this nose panel here had loads of highs and lows in it, so just knocked those lows, the highs down to low spots and just filled it up, skim filled the entire thing. See his rear bumper bar, where did I leave that down here? It's got all flaking paint and lots of chips and scratches, so even just this kind of down here, it's all flaking, so take hours and hours of sanding, not worth it, but there you go. So all those parts are set up properly now. I've made sure that with stuff like this, I've set it up over the edge so I can get my primer right around the edge without having the paint bridge up and build up in areas like that. Obviously I don't want these blowing away, so I tape them down. Got these sitting up off just sitting up off there a bit. Again, it's got that lip and that lip sitting over the edge. Make sure I tape these down so they're not going to blow away as well. So I'm going to plastic prime any bare plastic areas, and this bumper is going to get a full plastic prime. I'm not going to worry about any etch primer over They say that anything bigger than a hand should be etch prime, but a piece like that, 2-pack primer seems to get good adhesion over it, so no real need for etch primer on that. So that's all those parts primed up. I use the Concept HS primer. It's a good 2-pack primer. Seem to get a little shrink back with it, and it also feels nice as well. So I put 4 coats on these parts here, the parts that were metal, because I want to block into them, and this one here. But for the rest of them, they only ended up getting 3 coats, and the first coat was really just sort of a half coat. Because all I'm going to be doing with them is using the orbital sander with a piece of 400 grit and then sanding the edges down. So I'm not looking for dead flat. Pretty forgiving bumper bars and stuff like that, but I have removed the worst. Any major dents, yeah, I've got rid of them, but if you've got a slight little ripple, it's really not going to be something that catches the eye on bumper bars, I've found anyway. So 3 coats on most of it, 4 on the other, and obviously I use my plastic primer. I use probably about 1.8 litres of primer all up, so a fair bit still, considering I didn't even put 4 coats on everything. And again, I just used my Gunzer AZ3 with 1.8mm on it. Good primer gun, really happy with the transfer efficiency. And it's a reasonable price too. I've had that for about a year now and it's still going strong. So getting stuck into the polishing stage now. It's actually quite clean, and what has happened is we've had a couple of very small fish eyes starting to open up, like little ones like this just here. So there's enough clear on there that I'm going to be able to sand it out with some 1500 grit on this little orbital sander here. All I do is find that spot. Where is it on the cam? There we go, there's one there. When it's not sanded properly, you can still see the little spot there. But you just keep going a little bit. And I'm happy that that's going to polish up quite fine. Need to put a new disc on there. Just go around and do that to the rest of them, and you can see here that one needs a bit more sanding. Hasn't quite taken it right down. and it's still quite fresh, so any of these high spots that we do have, I'm a bit reluctant to go and hit it with the tungsten block because I've done that before and you actually end up digging the piece of stuff out and you end up with a crater that it's sort of hard to fix properly without respraying the entire panel. So 1500 grit should cut that down to a nice flat level without having to block it. Any bigger spots I was worried about, I could probably just get some 1200 on a block and then go over it with the 15. We've also got a few other things in here. We've got these black ones, I think they're like 3000 or something, and there's the green ones in here too. They're like 2500, so I might go over that later as well with the finer ones. But this one here is 1000 grit, so any of those bigger bits I could actually just hit with that, and that would knock them down a bit faster and less chance of having a high spot once you polish it up. The sides are quite nice, none of that those little silicone holes. I think partly to do with why that happened is putting it on a bit wet, just a little bit too much paint on there, but all that means is it's just going to polish up like a sheet of glass. It's going to be dead flat. I don't think there was any of them in the roof. There are a couple of little ones, but all in all I'm pretty happy with the off the gun finish. I would love to have given it a flow coat, but it's not always possible. Pretty time consuming, and an extra $700 or so worth of clear would have to go on it as well. Oh, when I say time consuming, it's not that bad. It's not as, like, most of the work has been done in your body repairs and all that. It's just the sand and quick sand masking paint, but yeah, all good. So just about to start doing some polishing. What I'm going to do today is just do the two guards and the bonnet. Reason being that I actually ran out of these discs and it's nearing the end of the month, so I'm just going to hold off until next month before we order the rest, but that should keep me busy for a couple of hours. I decided to sand out the imperfections and then just give it a quick sand, a quick buzz over that with the 1500 grit. Just going to make it come up that little bit nicer after I polish it. Same thing over the sides on these guards. Just gave it really just a quick buzz over just to knock the top of the orange peel off, and finished result should be, yeah, real nice. So I use 1000 grit, which is these ones here on the rest of it, and I'll be going over that with the 1500 grit in a couple of days. One thing I'm going to be careful of, once you start polishing, it's got like, the polishes have got sort of a bit of a greasy feel to them, so if you get that over something that you haven't yet sanded, all that does is that'll just clog your piece of sandpaper up straight away. So I'm just going to be putting a piece of paper over anywhere that I think I'm going to get some polish sprayed on off the buff over there. So these things are about $1 each, give or take, so they're not cheap, but they're really handy when it comes to polishing. A lot better than doing it wet like we used to, a lot quicker. I find it a bit cleaner as well because you don't have puddles of water all over the floor. Then you go and grab your buff and you put your extension lead in the water and risk electrocuting yourself. But yeah, I might give that a bit of a sound. I just saw that too, and another little one I've just found here. Don't even know if you can see it, but it's just here. A little bit of dust there, so always checking over my work, make sure I haven't missed anything. So we'll just be leaving it there for this video. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching it. If you have, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Go over to my website, check that out. I've still got loads more work to do on that, so it's not finished, but doing my best to get time to get onto it. All my social media links are in the description below. Now you've seen this video, get out there and paint some shit. Thanks for watching, and this has been another Gunman production. Goodbye.